what we've got here is failure to communicate.
Hey, I'm UFC President Dana White, and you're in the ring with Callum McGregor.
They're staring at me. See them?
Good to go.
UFC London in the books. Paddy Pimblett, fade or back. And, we didn't quite fade him. In retrospect, in strategy, as far as a parlay with a hedge, Paddy Pimblett should have been the top of the parlay. And I think the main event should have been something that we went head-to-head and maybe threw some props at. Or not head-to-head, but like where you just went on a money line play. But yeah, Paddy Pimblett, there was a likelihood we saw that he was going to win. I was even looking at potentially submission as well too. Remember we were saying on the podcast, if he's smart, he goes for that submission early and just makes a point, but he still even gets caught. It's a scary guy to bet, but I mean that hedge was nice. It was a much nicer hedge if it were to go Vargas's way. So I mean, for us, I think we missed the boat on that. Volkov, I'm not mad at that. Some guys are like now reversing their thought and saying, why did they go with Volkov? Why? What did they see? I mean, Tom Aspinall just proved he is that good. That's what I think, in my opinion. Like, I think Volkov was a benchmark to see where he's at, and he's proven that he is in the upper echelon. And, obviously going off the cliff with the Luana Carolina play of the KO, which at points didn't look like it could potentially be bad. And I think some people understood my play with Molly being a little bit wild. Molly showed me some shit. I look at her as a fade usually because she's so wild, because I can't bet on that. And wow, if you live bet that kind of shit. And she looked good. Boxing looked more improved. The fight IQ, come on now. She's getting tagged up, and Carolina's actually starting to make work on her, and she takes her down. And I'm like, beautiful. And I just listened on the Anakin Florian podcast, and she's like, look, my number one thing, she's like, I only party one night. She goes, I'm back to work. She's like, fight IQ. Every fight, I want to prove my fight IQ, is what she said. I'm in until she gets that, like, hopefully they don't push it too fast. Give me one or two more fights to make, to be on the Molly train. Anyways, I'll pass that off to you. That's my take on the weekend. What were your thoughts on UFC London? What a card! You can sense it from my energy. What a weekend of fights.
Yeah, man, it was a really, really good card. I think we learned a lot, especially me, because I have a bad habit of backing guys that have already proven it to themselves. And I think it's about time, like, I finally admit, like, that there's an upper echelon of guys that are coming in. I'm with you. I'm not mad about the Volkov pick. At the end of the day, we all kind of expressed the fact that the pick was dependent on the fight getting extended, which it didn't. But the hedge out there was pretty easy, Tom Aspinall by finish was plus 300. So for me, although it killed the top ticket, I still made my money back and then some on that. Arnold Allen, man, proved me wrong in leaps and bounds.
Oh, yeah.
The guy threw more punches in that one round than I think he has in his whole UFC career. But nonetheless,
yeah, people were saying that Hooker looked really slow in that, but after he got hit was when he really looked slow. I mean, he got touched, and you just saw that power meter go down, and that was all she wrote.
Yeah, and the biggest win for me on this weekend, man, and it goes against our head-to-head, was I cashed that first round, Makwan and Murakami, plus 1,000 by sub. Like, once again, these are these spots where you wish you put more on, because obviously it's, plus 1,000. I'm not putting a shit ton of money on it, but it's also the spots you don't win whenever you put a shit ton of money on. So that being said, it's just the way it goes. I felt like I had a good read on that fight. I felt Grundy was going to do exactly what he did, where he would try and ground him immediately to get rid of that first round kind of burst that Mark One has. And he kind of dove right into his bread and butter there, and that was a wrap. So definitely the best read for me on this card. But overall, man, like, this is probably one of the best cards, like, that we've seen in a while. Like, I'm somebody who goes back.
Good call on that Americani. That was a good one, man. I mean, I don't know if anybody could bank on the extremely poor fight IQ of Grundy in that, but I mean, at the same time, I mean, and I felt that even after you were so high in that spot, and I thought maybe it was a little bit of recency bias. You have that vivid bias of him getting smashed. And then it's like, well, yeah, but he's also an amazing fighter, and he can step up, and you got to watch how much you really weigh in someone's loss. Unless someone's lost a lot, you can't really count someone out. So, and Dan Hooker, I mean, I think the only road for him at this point, I mean, everybody's saying what he should do, and it's up to him what he wants to do. He hasn't necessarily been knocked out a lot, but he has taken a lot of shots, been in some big wars. And I think that if he's going to have a shot at MMA fighting anymore, he needs to fight at 170. No more weight cuts. Build up your muscle, get stronger, even take like a year to rebuild your body. And then come back and you're like, his skill set's there, and then see if his chin holds up being in a different shape. Because right now he's a lean, lanky, not like that's got to deplete his body, and it's not going to be good for your brain when you're getting rocked around. So, but I digress. Let's move forward into UFC Columbus. We are in Ohio. We are going to see Coleman in the corner of every person fighting on the Ohio card, because that's what he does. I'm not even sure if he coaches anybody anymore. He just sort of shows up, what I understand. This card looks very interesting, man. I'm pretty stoked about this one. So what I want to do is, they've actually even shuffled up the prelims a little bit, because I know that they've moved some people around. So let me just pull up Tapology first, and we will get going here. You know what? I have the odds open too, but I mean, I'll have Tapology open. If you want to have the odds open, and I'll allude to you each time to throw those odds in there.
Sure.
So we have UFC Fight Night Columbus. We got Curtis Blades taking on Chris Daukaus. Quick turnaround after getting knocked out by the man who lulls you to sleep and just destroys your soul with one big overhand right in Derek Lewis. So yeah, I mean, this is an interesting one. There's definitely a hedge option here. What do you want to do? Do you want to start at the top of the card, or do you want to work your way up from the bottom?
Start at the top. That way we can get the good stuff going.
Okay, so first and foremost, let's look at the matchup between Curtis Blades and Chris Daukaus. What's the line on them right now?
Yeah, minus 400 on Curtis Blades, and the return on Chris Daukaus is plus 300.
Yeah, and I mean, really, when you got two big guys in there and you're getting plus money on a Daukaus, it is appealing. It's very appealing. But Curtis Blades and his wrestling is just relentless. And you're going to hear the word relentless, takedowns and wrestling about Blades all the time. But I mean, it's there. And I get it. It's a bigger cage, so there's a little more room, gives Daukaus a chance. But I just think a guy who shoots as many takedowns, and Curtis Blades, for me, I'm going to have to roll with him on this one. And I think that it really is a good hedge out situation with Daukaus by KO. I strongly believe Blades wins this fight, but obviously if we have a nice hedge, I'm good with that too, because I could just enjoy watching this fight and not betting on it at all. So that's what it almost feels like when you have it at the end of the parlay with the hedge. So I just think that the wrestling's going to be the difference. I think that I don't think Daukaus is going to be able to submit Blades in any situations. Blades just has to control him and start to be a little bit more punching. And I didn't even like to see him try to shoot for more submissions as well too. But obviously, let's not get himself in trouble and get himself in a grappling match where he gets submitted himself. So I'm taking Curtis Blades in this one with the ramble, and Chris Daukaus is going to go on a little bit of a losing skid here. What's your thoughts? Yeah,
man. Honestly, I agree the exact same way. I've always been high on Chris Blades. He's definitely made some poor life decisions over his career. Like even in the Derek Lewis fight, he really didn't shoot for as many takedowns as I thought that he would. Thought he showed a little bit of a poor fight IQ there. I felt like in the first round, he was kind of piecing up Derek Lewis a little bit, and that kind of made him a little bit less worried about the shot, which is a terrible thing whenever it comes to a Derek Lewis fight, because that punch is always live. And in all fairness, they both have that in common, where they both have their lights shut out by Derek Lewis. That being said, it's hard for me to back Chris Daukaus in the spot. A lot of people on other betting programs are talking about how he's never been taken down and that type of stuff, but the level of competition is so low. And for me, it's just something I can't back in the spot.
Yeah,
I think
never
it's
faced Curtis Blades.
yeah, that's it. Like, what does Chris Blaze do? He takes you down and he mauls you. And they're like, oh, Chris Dawkins, he's got crazy punching power. It's like, yeah, but he's fought Shamil, who is 41 years old and has been KO'd in his last 3 fights. He fought Parker Porter, who is just kind of a straight up brawler. Like, it's his fights are far from being that impressive. And to go against a guy like Curtis Blades, I think he's definitely going to run into some problems. And also, it's a perfect top ticket material because the hedgehout's there.
Yeah,
You know?
and I mean, Derek Lewis is a hard fight to gauge on because I think the Lewis effect is there, right? Blades' game is takedowns. He gets nullified because he's just scared to shoot in. And then, you know, with Dawkins, he's scared to press him with his shots because of Lewis's power. So, okay, moving on to the next part of the card, we have Joanne Wood against Alexa Grosso. Joanne Wood coming off a loss to Talia Santos. Alexa Grosso coming off a win. Who was it she fought last? She had fought Macy Barber?
Yeah.
Yeah. In a boxing performance that intrigued me and made me a huge fan. The ever tough Mexican Alexa Grosso with the pure boxing against, you know, Joanne Wood, who has that Muay Thai, who is game, but she seems to be on her skid. She's on the slide. As soon as she dropped the Scottish last name and just went with Wood, the world started to change for her. But no, it actually started to slide before then. She likes to get into battles. She uses the Muay Thai to get into battles. The unfortunate thing about Muay Thai is head movement's not really there. You're marching forward. You get tagged. And after fighting that way for so long, she's 15-7-0 in the UFC, or mostly in the UFC, to be honest. I mean, she's just taking a lot of shots. And she did seem a step behind Santos. I don't know if she was, you know, hesitant because she was a little bit, you know, worried about the power. But she's not going to be able to just stand in front of Grosso. Grosso's going to pick her apart with the boxing. As much as the dog shot looks nice, I think I was looking at Wood last time. I'm going to go with Grosso on this one. I think that she's going to get pieced up. Wood's going to get pieced up by Grosso's boxing. It just looked too stellar. And you're going to see Joanne Wood maybe potentially drop out almost out of the rankings in the top 15. So I think Grosso rides all day. Even if she gets in trouble, she's got the tough Mexican spirit. She'll get in there and they just don't go away, man. Mexican boxers don't. So I'm going Grosso all day in this. Grosso decision may even be a prop play for me. Take it away.
Yeah, for sure, man. I'm on the same boat as you. I like Grosso. I like her by decision. One thing to point out is I feel like it's happening on books all around is that they're getting a lot better with the props, man. Like Grosso by decision is a minus 150. Like they're not even giving you plus money on this stuff anymore. So it's a little bit difficult to take the prop on this one. But I really think Grosso rides in the spot. Like Joanne Calderwood, she's in her late 30s. Alexa Grosso's 28. She's kind of on the up and up in her career. Her boxing looks better every single time she comes out. And Joanne Wood, doesn't wear punches well. And whenever you got her fights that generally go to decision, that's something that's kind of worrisome because a lot of these judges, you know, they're just going to look at it by damage. And I feel like Grosso will land the better punches and she'll come out looking like the better fighter. I think the minus 250 is probably a little bit wide for Grosso just because Joanne Wood has fought a really high level of competition over years, but she hasn't really beaten them. So I'm with Grosso all day on this one, and hopefully the judges don't screw you on this one because I feel like this one could be a little dicey on the scorecards.
Yeah, it potentially could. I mean, that's where, you know, you take the shot, but eventually as well too. If I'm leaning Grosso, then I'd look at Grosso split decision, and I won't put too much weight into the fight, but then I'll maybe just sprinkle a little prop on it. Next fight on the card, we have the immortal Matt Brown in his hometown against Brian Barberino. This is a battle of two guys that are warriors that go out in their shield maybe too often, and they may be. I mean, I thought Matt Brown was going to retire his last fight. I think he even thought maybe he was going to retire his last fight. But he's still going. He's still kicking. He wants to get in there and you know, chop it up in the welterweight division. The man has power in his hands. He has some, you know, pretty solid grappling and wrestling. His weaknesses, knees up the middle, are an issue for this man. And I've watched a lot of tape on him. Obviously, I've been watching him for years. He doesn't handle knees well. And you see this in multiple different situations, knees in the body. And when this gets sloppy, and I'm just worried. Like I really, this is a stay away. I don't think that you can really go either way confidently, because both guys are going to have their weaknesses. And when they're going in there in the phone booth and just throwing, I mean, Matt Brown, his chin's starting to go, susceptible to the knees up the middle, which I know Barberino likes to throw as well too. So Barberino proves you wrong time and time again. I know that he had his illness. He was out for a little while, came back. I know it's been lower level competition. This is just a little bit of a step up in competition from what he was fighting when he came back. But man, I don't even know where to go with this one. I might just lean Matt Brown. But for me, this is a big stay away. I don't want to touch this one. I just want to sort of eat some popcorn and do my thing on this one. Thoughts?
Yeah,
what's the line right now?
Sorry. I'll say it in a sec. Yeah, and honestly though, man, like I actually like Matt Brown along the spot. Right now, this fight's sitting at a pick 'em. It's minus 110 both ways.
Okay.
For me, man, like I'm actually pretty high on Matt Brown on the spot because Brian Barberino, to me, man, I think a lot of people put a lot of stock in the Vicente Luque fights because like he did look good, but it's because Vicente Luque brought that fight that Brian Barberino likes. Like at the end of the day, Matt Brown is the more well-rounded fighter. He's got much more technical fight IQ and the more skills, and he's fighting in front of his hometown crowd. I think this is kind of the end of Matt Brown's career, and I think he definitely rides on a win here. Brian Barberino kind of scares me because the guy takes 7 punches to give 1. Like, he's not technically sound. He can't defend a takedown. Like, Matt Brown's going to have a takedown or have a grappling advantage here, and I don't think anybody's ever said that in a Matt Brown fight. So it's hard for me to even like I think Matt Brown should be a favorite in this fight, if I'm being honest. Like, it's just Brian Barberino, like, if you look at his record, the guy hasn't beaten anybody.
You're gonna sway me to actually betting on this fight, aren't you?
I'm like, you think about it, like he beat Darian Weeks, which is one of the worst fighters on the roster, and he beat Anthony Ivy, which I guarantee you can't even name the guy's last fight. Like,
I know. I think I'm more fading Brown because of his age, and then you've seen him get rocked. It just worries me. I've been watching MMA since 2000, really solidly, and Brown has been one of my favorite fighters since he came into the UFC. Had a chance to meet him multiple times. This guy, I want to back, right? So I'm sort of fading myself. I don't want to be the fanboy. I want to straight up just stay away from it. I'll let you just continue with that. If I do play something on it, I'll keep it to myself.
That's fair. Yeah. Don't jinx me, man. I got Matt Brown already in a 7-person parlay. So, I just think he rides in the spot, man.
Good breakdown, man.
Yeah, like I think I said Brian Barberino, man. He's too hittable. Like he's susceptible to every takedown that comes his way. Like it's the way Brian Barberino wins is by people engaging in a firefight with him. And I think Matt Brown knows at this point in his career that he's not going to go out there and just swing hammers. Like, so we'll see. But I'm high on Matt Brown in the spot. And I'm hoping he rides to his hometown crowd. Sorry.
Okay. Next on the card, we have Askarov against Kai Kara-France, and this may be a spot where everybody goes, I thought, and it scares the shit out of me anyway. After watching tape, I see that he's a world beater. I see that he is this next prospect that people are, one of the 16 guys from the region that they say is going to be the next champion, because everybody says, somebody with a Rob at the end of the name is going to be the next champion who takes people to the ground and beats them up. And, that's getting tired. And this guy likes to get punched in the face. He likes to get hit. He keeps his head on the center line. And if he keeps this, if Kai Kara-France can keep this fight on the feet, I mean, plus 255 for Kai Kara-France. I'm not putting any weight into the Cody Garbrandt, but this guy does have power in his hands. He has dynamite in his hands. He didn't get to really prove it in the UFC early, but minus 335 for Askarov. In a lot of cases, maybe he could be weighed that way, but the fact that he keeps his head out there and gets hit, and maybe you have the numbers, maybe you don't. But I mean, when you have a guy who has power in his hands like this, I'm tempted, man. And I don't want to put Askarov in any of my parlays because I think it's just a volatile situation. At least not in any, top plays or in the parlay. So I think he wins, but there's a lot of risk factor there, man. And when the lines look the way they do, if this starts to inflate even more, unless more people are going to come back on the Cara France side, man, I might just go with the dog on this.
Yeah.
I get that if Askar comes in and takes him down, I get it. If he takes him down and sits him on his back and, holds him in place and starts smashing him, I get how he's going to look like a minus 500. But it's just, what if he can't? It's a bigger cage. What if he can't? If he can't, it's going to flip completely the other way. There's still a live betting situation where you still get decent money once you see them exchange in the first little bit. But man, I'm really leaning the dog on this. In all rights, Askarov should ride in this fight, but he just scares me, man. He keeps things. He almost plays down to the level. I don't know. Poor fight IQ at times. Just, anyways, up to you. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree with what you're saying. But I think if you're gonna bet Cara France, I think you bet the KO. I don't think he wins minutes in this fight. No. That being said, Askarov, he only has a 28% takedown accuracy, so there is a good chance that Kai's going to be able to stuff some of his takedowns. He trains at an amazing camp, but Kai's never really showed me anything to care about, if I'm being honest. The guy came into the UFC as a world beater, was KOing everybody, and then really didn't get a KO in the UFC until his last two fights. His KO over Barberino was relatively impressive. The guy did show in his last fight against Brandon Royval that he is better than a lot of people gave him credit for. KO and Cody Garbrandt has just been kind of a trend that's happened a lot lately. Kai does land 5 strikes per minute. So as opposed to Askarov only landing 3.37. But I think the threat of the takedown being there is just going to be the difference in this fight. I think that although Kai may have the potential to KO, I think whenever Askar starts shooting for legs and giving in the clinch control and just mixing it up, I just think ultimately he's going to win minutes and ride it to a decision. This is another show me spot. I'll admit I haven't done very good in show me spots recently, so maybe I'll eat my words on this one too. But I think Askarov should be fighting for a title, and I think that this is just kind of a step along the way because they decided to book that the fourth fight between Moreno and Figgy.
If you actually look at it, man, and you look up the card, that might be the fight to actually. Well, actually, no. What's the line? I mean, you could run two lines up, parlays up, and have that as an end 20-year parlays, because there's good hedge there, right?
Yeah, Kai Bai's finish is plus 750.
That's nice, man. I like that.
So
we'll take a look at that.
And if you can get just the KO, you're probably going to get close to plus 1,000.
And that is the only way he's going to win, right? So,
I'm looking at it right now, plus 1,600 round 1. I'm going to have to sprinkle that, man, because I think that's live. I think if the fight gets extended, Askar is eventually going to be able to control his game plan in second, third round, really keep him on the mat. But Kai's going to come a swing in the first round. So that plus 1,600, man, it's worth a sprinkle.
Or even if we ran with it, it gives you 2 hedge out options, right? So once you get to Askarov, you drop on Cara France, you get by him. Cool.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know, man. You don't want to hedge too much, then you hedge all over yourself, as I say. So next fight in the card, we have Alexei Oleinik against Ilir Latifi. This one is what did I call this fight again? And I think I'm just being critical because when I see guys getting up in age, unless you're Randy Couture, I call this fight a big bag of donkey dicks, I believe. But yeah, it was a big bag of donkey dicks. Alexei Oleinik is now 44, 45, but his body is like 65, man. He's been in wars. Grapplers' bodies don't age well. Look at any if you know any grapplers who are older, man, their bodies don't age well. Most of them have a lot of injuries. And this guy is no different. He's slow, lumbering. I guess I get Ilir Latifi, has been knocked out. I get that he's actually really not at high level. He has some good striking. The likelihood is Latifi's going to end up on top. You're going to see a lot of top game, some smash, some submission attempts. But really, plus 159, we have Oleinik, Latifi coming in at minus 200. I just don't even touch it. I think it's a fight that It's a 1-800 gambler fight. Yeah, sure, Ona could catch the submission. You could sprinkle the money on the submission if it happens. But I think the likelihood is Latifi's going to, land more strikes, likely be in top position most of the fight, probably even, win a decision in this. I just, both guys, I'm just not interested anymore. And in this division, we don't need these fights anymore. This belongs somewhere else. Bellator.
Yeah, honestly, there's no real breakdown for this fight. Like, at the end of the day, if Alexi's going to win,
choke or no choke.
Yeah. But that being said, call me crazy here, but I think Alexi wins on the feet. Like Latifi doesn't throw anything. So at least in Alexi, remember in the Aleksandar Overeem fight where he's throwing those sideways hammer fists at Aleksandar, and Alekstar's just standing there what the fuck is going on? He at least tries to win minutes standing. His striking is absolutely atrocious by any stretch of the imagination, but
lumbering countered by Latifi. That's what I see. Anyway.
Yeah, well, it's yeah.
Because the guy who doesn't throw a lot, usually he's playing the counter game. But I mean, who knows? Maybe that I'm proved wrong on that. You could be right on that. Maybe you saw something I didn't in the stand up. So
there's nothing on this fight I see though. I was looking at Alexi round 1, and it's only a plus 500, so that does nothing for me. I'm gonna go with Alexi because fuck it, but I got real no hot take on this fight at all.
I'm gonna go with Latifi, but we're not even adding this to our head-to-head. I have to do the calculations this week finally for the head-to-head, and I even actually want to look back at any of our full card picks that we've done and see if we can get percentages on the full year so far.
Sure, love it.
But so I'm gonna look back. I think on most of your social media it'll be there, so I'm gonna look back and try to calculate all that this week. But if we look at this fight, it's a dumpster fire. I'm not interested. It's very rare I say that. Most misogynistic assholes say it about women's fights, and that really is what it is because they just anyways, I don't want to get into that one again. I
honestly think both these guys have another fight or two left on their contract, and the UFC is just kind of what the fuck can we give these guys? I think they're just trying to ride out their contracts at this point.
Yeah, I mean, you want to just get the fights out of there, and anyway.
And you don't want them to get hurt because Alexi's.
They will both 60. Destroy me. It's I ain't shit, but it's just my whole point is I just get frustrated when I see guys that maybe should retire.
I like it.
That's it. If it was a Cody Garbrandt fight, I'd be thinking the same way. I wouldn't even want to talk about it because I'm done talking about him fighting. Next fight in the card, we have Mark Diakiese against Vyacheslav Borshev. We have Slavoclaws coming in at minus 175. What the fuck is going on against Mark Diakiese, who is plus 142? Okay. Well, we have vividness bias. We have recency bias. Yes, I know that the striking is there from Borshev, but this line, I think, is the most misaligned line on the card. That being said, the reason why I will not go with Diakiese is poor fight IQ. The guy is way more talented than his record shows. The guy, really in the stand-up, this should be fun to watch, but he should be mixing in the takedowns and try to potentially win minutes on the ground, get some time control on Borshev, and maybe slow him down a little bit so he can take away some of that pop off the punches. Does he do that, though? I just don't know. So I won't bet on it. The guy that I've seen go through fire, walk through fire, take shots. Yes, we know I think he's been knocked out in regional scene, but I'm going to go with Borshev on this. I really don't like the line. I don't like it at all. I think it should be more of a pick 'em at this point if we really want to talk about it. If not, the other way around, just because there's not enough to know right now. You can watch a lot of tape on him, but Borshev still hasn't fought that upper echelon. This is I think a little bit of a step up in competition. If Diakiese lets the hands go, we're going to see where this goes. But I'll lean Borshev. Not happy with the line. Wish I could have got him a little bit of a better price because it's sort of bullshit. But anyways, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, so this is a tough one, right? With Borshev, a lot of people had questions going into the Dakota Bush fight, and I feel like he answered all the questions. He looked real good against Chris Duncan on the Contender Series. We said that whenever we broke down his fight against Dakota Bush. But the one thing that's always looming over his head is his strength of schedule prior to that was fucking terrible. He had 5 fights, and the only guy with a winning record he lost to. So everybody else had 50-50 records, 3-3, 2-2, and I think 1-1. Or sorry, 4-1. So he beat one guy with a winning record. But it's it's tough, right? But I think this still kind of favors him in this fight because in retrospect, I'm a huge Mark DeCasey fan, but he's kind of a bust of a UFC prospect. He doesn't seem like he can really get his head in the game. The Rafael Alves fight was a tough one to watch. I do still say that Nutshot had something to do with that. The Rafael Fiziev fight wasn't really close. He beat Leonardo Veneta and Joe Duffy. Both two good fights, and both fights where he was fighting strikers where he had a high advantage to. And then
that's what scares me, though, right? Sorry. That's what scares me, though, right? Like fighting guys like Fiziev, having a strength of schedule like that, in comparison to what Borshev's schedule is, it is a little scary.
Yeah, and this is a real show me spot. And like I said earlier, I haven't been doing good in these show me spots, and I'm gonna ride with Borshev on the spot. But if Mark won and Mark killed my parlay because I got Borshev parlayed as well. Because unfortunately with this card, it's the lines are so wide that you kind of gotta go for the ones that aren't gonna make you fucking put up a mortgage payment to get a good price. But DeCasey won. I wouldn't be mad. I'm a huge DeCasey fan. But I just think that styles make fights, and I think that after his last couple losses, he's going to come in hesitant. I think he probably should have taken a little bit more time off. That Alves fight wasn't that long ago, and I feel like he's going to be a little bit gun-shy coming in here, where Borges knows that this is a fight and a name where he can ride off it, and I think he's going to come here guns blazing. So
I'm with you. Okay, so next fight on the card, we have Max Griffin against Neil Magny. Max Griffin on a resurgence, had some good boxing in his last fights, but really, I think he going up against a Carlos Condit, Condit really has beaten himself in a lot of his fights. I love Condit; he's one of my favorite fighters ever. He's overcomplicated his fights, I think, and almost beaten himself in fights. And I think that a Condit that was focused against Griffin, I think he beats him all day. But boxing did look good. There is a resurgence. He's plus 193 against a minus 245 Neil Magny. Neil Magny is the guy. He's always the bridesmaid, but never the bride. Sort of an odd sentence. But the reality is he's that good, but he scrapes the surface. And his, strength of schedule is there. The guy has grappling. The guy has striking. But I don't know, man. When you have a guy with momentum is a real fucking thing. So it is a little bit of I'm looking at the 193 thinking about it, but I'm going to go with Magny in this pick. Magny by decision. In what could potentially be one of the fight of the nights, to be honest. This could end up being a good war. But I'm going to lean Neil Magny. I think just he's too skilled in comparison to Max Griffin in this one. And I just don't see Max Griffin really winning solid minutes on the feet with him. So what's your thought on this one?
Yeah, to be honest, this is one of the only fights on the card where I think the line is actually accurately lined. I think Neil Magny is the rightful favorite. A lot of people like Max Griffin. As you said, he's on kind of a career resurgence, but he's fighting like just the worst of the competition in the UFC. Like, I'm with you, man. Like, I grew up, I got a case in my basement of old UFC DVDs that I used to watch every single night before I went to bed. Carlos Condit's probably on fucking half of them. But at the end of the day, he's past his prime, man. Like, it's not much to say you're going out there and beating him nowadays. It's not like it was back in the day.
Yep.
Neil Magny is the ultimate gatekeeper. And honestly, I like him on the spot. But as you said, I don't think this fight's going to be exciting. Like, I think Neil Magny's probably going to take Max Griffin down, and he's probably just going to ride out a lackluster decision, win minutes. And I don't think it's going to be fight of the night. I think Max Griffin's going to be frustrated and going into the third round just tired of Neil Magny being on top of him for the last 10 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, fight IQ may actually nullify what I was saying, because if he does just take him down and ride him out, then, good on him for the win, but also maybe why he hasn't made it in the upper tier. But I stayed on the feet, though. That would be a war to watch. But
I just don't think Neil Magny will play that game. Like, I think he's a little smarter than that. But even then, like, he beat Jeff Neal. Like, he beat Robbie Lawler. Like, he
didn't have to risk it with a. You're right, though. You are right. Like, totally pick apart my thought, but you are 100% right. Because Max. well, no, but why risk it with Max Griffin?
Yeah,
you're right. You're 100% right. Why risk it with Max Griffin? Get this win out of your way with no damage, and then get back in the the race. Would be his thought, or should be his thought. and make a statement in another fight. So I'm with you on that. Next fight in the card, we have Sara McMann against Carol Rosa. Sara McMann, just a fighter that never really formulated such strong wrestling pedigree, but gases, poor fight IQ, and really not someone you can back. The wrestling pedigree always makes you want to back her. You always want to, like, it makes you, what if she takes you down, holds you down, gets minutes? I'm not seeing it. I think Carol Rosa rides here. I think she's one of the stronger plays of the night. And what I was actually even potentially leaning looking at McMann before I watched more tape. And after watching tape, I'm thinking Rosa could even take her down at points. So I'm going to go Rosa minus 225 against McMann at plus 178. Take Rosa. I'm probably not going to throw her in parlays or anything. People have suggested it, but you're definitely going to, I think she's going to ride here. I think McMahon's just going to do what she does. You may want to look at a live betting, but I highly doubt it. I don't see McMann getting older and getting a better gas tank as she gets older. So Rosa rides. Thoughts?
Yeah, once again, man, I feel like we're going to be on the same page on a lot of these. I got to agree on it. Like Sara McMann, to me, she's 41 years old. She's facing somebody who's 27. I don't hate the live betting thing. I know that we're quoting that from other podcasts just the same, but it's a good move. Like, I think Sara McMann could probably win the first round, but I think her gas tank will fail on her quite quickly after that. And then Rosa will just take over. But to me, this is still relatively low level. I've kind of learned my lesson of betting low level women's MMA. We saw it last weekend too, where a lot of people got burned pretty early in the night, where low-level women's MMA kind of came in clutch there. So
I'm really glad I didn't sell myself on that story so much, and I just sprinkled it and called it. I'm glad I labeled it as the tinfoil hat play. That way I didn't sell myself on it actually being a legitimate hot play, because that would have really sucked.
But, yeah, man, Carl Rosa, but no hot take. Maybe split decision. Could be one of your bets there. Sara McMann could land takedowns, and if she lands takedowns, she can win minutes. And somebody else pointed out, Ohio doesn't do a lot of MMA, so you're going to get some sketchy ass judges. You're going to get some boxing judges.
From what they were saying, there's going to be some boxing judges mostly.
Yeah.
So look for, that's one of the reasons why I was leaning towards Alexa Grosso.
Yeah, it's a good take.
So next fight in the card, we have possibly what I think is going to potentially be fight of the night if it lasts longer and rides through. I'm excited for this fight. Watching tape is sort of fun. Trying to figure out and pick apart how this really will play through. Initially, my first play in my head was, Donttap Bakkarel is going to be able to cut through Gutierrez in and out style. He has good footwork and movement, but eventually just ride through and cut through him like butter and catch him. Gutierrez coming in at plus 125. Both guys can strike, but just different styles. We have Gutierrez coming in with higher volume. And the one thing I think would be a benefit to him, if you watch Bakkarel throw any kicks, he's always off balance. If you watch him even at points, he'll be off balance in his strikes because he just loads up so much. Take away that calf in front. If he can start peppering that calf right away, this could actually prove a huge advantage for that power drive forward from Donttap Bakkarel because there's so much power for such a small guy. His shots are looping, but they're there. They're not fully looping. Like they're you know what I'm saying? Like they come over the top. There's room for Gutierrez to catch him, but I don't know, man. This is gonna be this is a hard one. I've gone back and forth in my head, man. I was thinking Gutierrez could ride in this and point him all the way through this and just stay away from the power. I could see it going both ways, and you could see these guys splitting, 50-50 if they fought 10 times, which is why, I guess it's minus 150 Bakkarel, plus 125 for Gutierrez. This could be a split decision call if Bakkarel obviously doesn't get him out of there. I'm still on the fence with this. I've gone back and forth. I'll probably have my pick a little bit later in the week, but no, I can't be a pussy. I gotta figure this out.
Well, this is going to be.
Let me hear what you got to say on it. But I've been back and forth, man. Like it's going to be power with some precision over just precision and speed. So
yeah, so I'm on the dog in this one, man. I like Chris Gutierrez in this one a lot. I think, as you point out, the leg kicks are going to be the difference. With Chris Gutierrez, like the guy's only ever been finished by submission, and that was fairly early on in his career. The guy takes a punch really well. He's fought guys like Vince Morales, Andrew Ewell. He's fought Ronnie Barcelos. He's fought Timur Valiev twice early in his career in the WSOF. So I actually like him a lot. I think his strength of schedule is a lot better than what the UFC has actually given him. And the one thing to know, like we're going back to traveling events, right? So we're not dealing with the Apex cage 3 weeks out of the year or 3 weeks out of the month. So with it being a bigger cage, I think it favors Chris a lot in this one. I think he's going to be able to dance around the cage. I think those kicks are going to be a big difference, and that's going to take away the power of Barberino there. So I actually like Chris a lot in this spot. I think he's going to be the better minute winner. And I think Dana is just going to get a little bit more frustrated and start throwing stupid shots. I think this fight probably does go to a decision, though, despite contrary belief, because Chris doesn't really throw with the intention of getting somebody out of there. So I believe if he wins, it's probably going to be what?
Yeah, I think. I was saying he's in and out. Like I think the good game plan would be first round. Gutierrez comes out. And I got to call you out, by the way, you French Canadian motherfucker. Gutierrez. No, but it's your natural inclination, right? Probably school, whatever it is. It's You say Gutier, like Collier, you say Collier. So it's not even like you're saying it wrong. You're saying it based on the fact of French Canadian because you're so close to that part of the world. All right, it's like I'm talking about like you're so far away from me. Yeah, man, I think that's a good call. I wasn't even really. I think I had taken into account of the cage, but I didn't mention the cage. That's another a good play. But yeah, in the first round, if Gutierrez can come out and get Dana to start throwing, just get him to chase him around, even to the point where Gutierrez might even lose that round because it looks like Dana's the aggressor and winning it. But just tire him out and get him to gas a little bit, and then just start to roll. Even halfway through the first round, just start to roll. Could be a play. You've edged me that way. That's sort of the way I was leaning when I was talking about Gutierrez, and I leaned back towards Baccarel. So who knows if I go back and forth again? But I like your play on it. It is a good little bit of plus money, and I think that Gutierrez could coast in this if he can get Dana throwing punches and starting to gas out a bit. So next fight on the card we have. Are you going to try to pronounce these names? Are we going to do this one? Because I will put together a blooper reel after this one.
It's going to be bad.
Elias Cobb Kizraev against Dennis Tulin. I practiced that shit.
I did not.
Okay. Dennis Tulin against Kizraev. We have plus 450 Tulin against the minus 650 Chalk. Wow, holy shit. It was like minus 200 at the beginning of the week or minus 250 or some shit. It is blown up because we have Dennis. I don't know if it was short notice exactly. I don't know how short notice it might have been, but apparently it's like he's the only one that's going to take the fight. And some guys sort of messed up why some of Kizraev's fights were canceled. Some guys actually looked into it and saw that it was COVID or whatever else. Some were saying it was Kizraev that canceled all the fights. It would appear that some people don't want to just fight this guy because you're just going to get taken down, mauled, and smashed. I don't want to believe in hype too much, but when you watch tape on this guy, you actually don't have to watch tape on this guy. Just look for the top video on YouTube. It's a highlight reel. Watch that. That's it. You don't need to watch anything else because, in his strength of schedule did start to get a little bit better right before he did jump into the UFC, but he just grabs guys, drags them to the ground, smashes them, submits them, does whatever he wants to them. I know there's a little bit of questions with something like that because what does he do when he faces adversity, or what happens when it drags on, and where's the cardio at? You can ask so many questions that way, but not in this fight. He's going to come in and smash this man, and this is actually a spot where I'm watching tape on both guys. Tulin actually plays right into Kizraev's hands. He's going to throw shots where Kizraev's going to either be able to counter it or even shoot under and take him down really quickly. I don't see this lasting long, but fucking minus 650. That really sucks. That's not even fun to parlay. That's Bellator shit, which is why we're talking about potentially, I don't know, we got to get something out earlier, whether it's the full podcast or even a quick shot at certain people, lock these lines now, early locks or something. It's not, I don't know, something. because we need to beat some of these Bellator lines because it's looking like it's going that way. So I definitely am going to say Kisryov all day, mauls him, takes him down, potentially submits him. I mean, I'll get cute with it. I'll just throw the minus 650 in the parlay, call it a day. What's your take on this one?
Yeah, so there's nothing else to really add to this, man. I think Dennis took his fight because Khrushchev needed one. But at the end of the day, like, it shows how high they're thinking about this guy. If you look at his canceled bouts, man, you had one with Chris Dawkins, who was fighting in the main event of this. Alessio DeCricchio, relatively high-level competition. And William Turner, who can eat a bag of dicks, but nonetheless still up there in the competition level. This guy's just here for a paycheck, in my opinion, and I think he probably gets starched in the first round. I think this is just his way into getting another UFC fight. They're doing him kind of a favor at this one, but he's going to take a beating.
Yeah, it's one of those spots, man, where you just say, well, that's why it's minus 650. The books aren't stupid. As soon as the money started pouring in a little bit, that line got chewed straight up. So.
Fuck, it's minus 725 on my book right now, so.
Yeah, okay, so maybe I need to jump. Next fight in the card, we have one of my favorite female fighters because she is a monster. Manon Fiorot at minus 500, monster. Jesus Christ. Against Jennifer Maia. Now, this scares me a little bit. I know that there's a world beater in Manon Fiorot. I know the striking's there. She's a judo player as well, right?
Yeah.
Oddly enough, and I shouldn't have done it, but I didn't watch tape on this one again because I watched so much fucking tape on Manon Fiorot. And Jennifer Maia, we know really what her path to victory is. With this one, Manon Fiorot is going to be going into my parlay for sure. That being said, Jennifer Maia may get a sub sprinkle. So even in saying I'm going to do that, I maybe shouldn't put Fiorot on my parlay. But I just think she's going to win minutes on the feet and just smash her. And I just don't know if Maia's going to be able to get this fight where she wants to get it and really be able to grapple her. I think Fiorot wins, rides, but minus 500. The fuck are we doing here, Bellator?
Yeah, no, it's tough, man. Like, it's been the last couple weeks. It's been the last month. Like, the lines for MMA have just been fucking juice. That being said, you get minus 105 on Fiorot by decision. I really don't think she gets Jennifer Maia out of there. Maia's never really been finished in a career. They're all kind of decision losses. I feel like Fiorot definitely wins minutes and definitely is a better fighter. But if you're gonna parlay it, I get it. But I think Fiorot by decision is probably the best way to go. She's gonna land the better strikes. Jennifer Maia, although has wins by getting fighters to the ground, she's absolutely terrible at getting it there herself. As we talked about whenever we broke down the Caitlin Jukagian rematch, she only gets fights to the ground by people slipping or catching kicks. She's god-awful with takedowns. So her best strength is ultimately her worst weakness, just the same. She's fought a high level of competition for sure, but she hasn't beaten anybody worth noting. So I think Fiorot this is just another show me spot for her. I think Fiorot is probably going to get it done and probably ride out a 30-27 decision.
As you were talking, I talked myself out of the sub sprinkle because and it was actually me thinking back to what I said on the podcast last week was a black belt turns into a brown belt, turns into a white belt really quick after they get punched in the face. And Fiorot doesn't stop. So if Maia's trying to go for anything in any situation, she's going to be met with strikes from everywhere at all times because Fiorot doesn't stop. So that just solidified my pick on Fiorot, although I was already solid on it. The sprinkle, I'm going to just hold back that unit or two or half unit probably on the Maia sub. So next fight in the card, we have Dave Dvorak against Matus Nicolau. Nicolau coming in at plus 107. I believe he was a little bit more of a dog, but money's starting to pour in on him against the minus 130 David Dvorak. Man, I think I'm gonna go. I think I'm with Nicolau on this one, man. I watched both guys fighting. I watched both their striking, and I like Nicolau in this spot, man. I think that he has a chance to really put himself in that upper echelon and really, I don't know if he ever makes it to championship material, but I definitely think he can crack that top 10. I like what I see here. Dvorak, we'll see if the volume comes. If he can bring some volume, his power is there. But I just don't know if he's going to be able to get at Nicolau the way he wants in the cage and actually hit that chin the way he wants. What's your thoughts on this fight? I didn't get to watch too much tape on this one. More going on, memory of their fights, and I saw a little bit of highlights. But what's your take on this one?
Yeah, I don't think we're gonna have a head-to-head this week, man. I like Nicolau a lot in the spot. I think there's a lot of hype on David Dvorak, and I don't really understand it. He's a good striker, really strong grappler, but I think Nicolau's just faced just a higher level of competition. He looked really good against this fight against Manel Cape. I don't personally think he won that fight, but at the end of the day, he still looked very good against, to me, one of the guys who could potentially challenge for a title in the near coming future. He has a decision win over Tim Elliott, where we saw Tim Elliott go out there the other weekend and just upset Tajir, despite the finger grabs and whatever. But I think it's just, as I said, I think the high level of competition is going to be the difference here. I don't really understand why Dvorak is the favorite, so I'll take the plus money on him all day.
I think because he does have some striking, he has the grappling. There's some power. There's always they always throw value at power, because then you're adding a potential KO prop or whatever else, and you'll see value go one way. But yeah, I mean, I'm with you on this. I'm not fully sold on Dvorak, and I think that's where I'm just fading him a little bit with Nicolau. So it is a little bit lower level, but I think Nicolau, like I said, he's impressed me at points. I remember at points in this fight being like, oh, all right, let's see what this guy's got. So next fight in the card, we have Bruno Souza against Luis Saldana. Okay, so Souza, we're likely going to have a kickboxing match. Souza coming in at minus 115, Saldana at minus 105. There's been a lot of talk about Lyoto Machida, maybe too much. People talk about Lyoto Machida in the breakdown of this fight, and it's sort of irrelevant. Really, the only thing that is relevant is the fact that there's going to be some guys that are going to stand in front of each other, keep a distance, and there's going to be some kicks. There's going to be some kicks. There's going to be some distance striking. Luis Saldana, people are shitting on him pretty hard right now because of his gas tank. But his gas tank really went in the last fight against Austin Lingo because he had no room to move. He had no room to throw his kicks. Lingo was there everywhere. So like when you circle off, when you're backing towards the cage and you circle off, you can usually catch somebody with a kick as you're circling out, right? Or when you reset, you can catch them with a kick at that distance. There was no room. Lingo was constantly swarming him. So even after he circled out, he'd readjust, and he was constantly there in front of his face all the time. He pushed the pace on him. He emptied his gas tank because then Saldana, I remember, was going for just home run wins near the end because he couldn't really do anything else about it. And, Lingo really is lower. I remember being a little bit pissed off because we were in on Saldana, or at least I was in on Saldana at the time. And Lingo just beat him with pressure. And that was it, right? And I think that Saldana was way better than that. I don't see Souza imposing his will on Saldana here. I don't see him applying pressure. I don't see there's going to be any grappling situation where potentially could gas out for long periods of time. So it makes him a lot more alive for me than some other people are looking at. Souza played down to his level of his competition in his last fight. And not overly impressed with him. It seems mentally like, there should be more of a killer instinct in him. And I have seen that in Saldana when he was desperate fighting, trying to keep Lingo off of him. So I'm really inclined to lean Saldana here. I have gone back and forth in this fight. I was leaning a little bit more Souza when I first started watching tape. And after really realized I may be giving Saldana a little bit more of a benefit of the doubt because of the Lingo pressure. And I don't see him actually gassing out as much in this fight. So I think I'm going to go with Saldana in this minus 105 to beat Bruno Souza.
We can make this one our head-to-head, I guess. I think it's someone one we don't see eye to eye on. That being said, this isn't really a strong take I have. I like Bruno Souza. I think he's a little bit low volume, but I just think he has the higher ceiling in this fight. Luis Saldana, as you point out, he definitely is getting a lot of flack because of his gas tank. But in his last fight, he got smothered. So what do you really expect to happen? That's going to wear on you. It's just going to be a closely contested kickboxing kind of karate style fighter. And I think if Bruno Souza can up the output a little bit, he can definitely win this fight. But I got no real hot take on this one. It's a pick 'em fight, and at the end of the day, I said is if you're looking for a split decision prop, this may be the one because I don't think either one of these guys is going to put out enough output to really justify a unanimous decision.
And well, the output may not be there exactly. Like the one thing, and I do agree with you on Souza. I think he has a little bit more of the damaging blows and a little bit more of the talent, but his volume's not there. His head's not in the game the way it needs to be. And if he does come and throw a little bit more volume, it's going to be scary to watch. But Saldana did show like he wanted to survive in that Lingo fight. And I think that was the difference. We have one guy who's sort of checked out to lunch, the other guy who's like fighting for his life, trying to land whatever he can. And that's going to be the difference in my pick. I think I'll go for the guy who was fighting for, his life versus the other guy who's sort of coasting like he just got out of bed. So I'll go with Saldana in this. We'll take this as a head-to-head. I'm glad that we got a head-to-head anyways. But yeah, now let's go back down the card and see where we can find some spots. So number one spot that we are pretty confident in, we're going to go with the Chalkies minus 650 in Kisraev. Correct?
Yeah.
Next spot, we have minus 500 Manon Firo.
Yeah.
Next spot, we could go with Askarov and just leave it there, to be honest, because, well, actually, no. Dawkins is actually a little bit more of a dog than Cara France is. So, I mean, how would you want to play that? You want to?
I think we do 4, man. It puts us at a plus 114, and you have a buyout on 2 of the spots that you probably could use it in.
Plus 114. Wow.
I know for a 4-person parlay, it's fucking juiced. But
I'm telling you, I really like Grosso in that spot. Okay, you know what we'll do? We'll at least have that.
You want to swap one out? We can swap out Askar for Grosso. Gives you a plus 139. Joanne, at the end of the day, that fight's going to decision anyways. So you can get a juicy line on Joanne by decision.
We at least have the starts of the conversation of it. Usually we go over it a couple of times, put it in the chat, and get an idea as to where we want to go with it. So we at least have a grouping there.
Yeah.
Let's see. But it is a little bit later in the week. Maybe we should lock something in. So we go Kisraev, Manon Firo. Yeah, I guess we could go 4.
Got to at least have some plus money on it.
Yeah, but I don't want to do it at the risk of just picking. But I'm pretty solid on Grosso because I think even if it's going to go to decision, there's going to be boxing judges in the crowd or in the arena. So yeah, you know what? I'm going to go Grosso. I'm going to take that take on it. So we'll add her in.
Do it.
And we'll see how we plus or minus and maybe we figure out maybe do 2 parlays with Askarov ending one of them and Blades ending the other one. Or we'll figure that out.
I like it.
Okay. Any hot takes? I think I like the Grosso by decision. I think that's I know that unless you go split, it's probably not worth that much. But I think it's probably going to be juiced up. I wouldn't imagine Kisraev inside the distance is going to be worth anything. It might be how you want to just bet him. The last thing I would want, though, I mean, it is when he was earlier in the fight, if he was the first in the fight of the night, you could actually put him in the parlay as inside the distance and then rebuild if you had to.
Sure.
But now that he's been bumped up a little bit, would he be the first one in the parlay? No. Manon Firo would.
Yeah, but I think Firo
you don't want to rebuild
really
after
easily. That. I wouldn't even hedge the Firo fight, knock on wood. That
I'm not. After going through that, I think she's gonna get punched in the face if she goes for a submission. Maia. So yeah, I'm with you on that. All right. Well, we at least have a good idea, and so any other props that you can think of? We got Magny probably by decision.
The only thing I really like is, and I know we're putting probably Askar in our thing here is if you're gonna bet Kaikar France, you bet the first round KO at plus 1600. I think that's really the only round he's gonna be live in, because at that point you're gonna realize quick if Askar can take him down. And I feel like if Askar starts getting punched in the face by him, he's not gonna last a round anyways.
Yeah, I think Kai's goal is going to be to go out there and make sure that he touches him early.
So plus 1600.
It's not a bad look.
Yeah, ain't gonna.
Any round 3 sprinkles that you can see out there? Probably not. No Paul Craig.
There's nothing. Honestly, this card's very straightforward to me. But there's not a lot of. I don't see a lot of upsets. Like I don't see a lot of comeback from behind victories. I see this card being one-way traffic in most of these fights.
All right, as always, I'm Callum McGregor. He's Nick Eagle-Eye. We, love watching tape, trying to find some spots. And I think we potentially found a couple spots for you this week. I'm actually feeling pretty confident in that parlay with Grosso actually in the mix. So, but regardless, hopefully you're enjoying the parlays. We didn't hit last week, just fell short. And if you're hating and you don't like it,
What we've got here is failure to communicate.
They're staring at me. See them?